Hello everybody, my name is Rachel and I thought I would do a quick video today talking about my travels that I took earlier this year, because I haven't really had a chance to do it yet. Even though we've been in this really weird situation lately, I thought that I would have time, but I've actually been super busy with just other stuff that I've been trying to work on. Like, I've been trying to exercise loads more lately and it's been working out super well. So I found myself today with nothing to do, so I thought I can finally make my travel video updating you all on what I did earlier this year. So let's just get straight into it. On January 15th of this year, me and my best friend Hayley took off on our travels to Southeast Asia, and we landed on January 16th in Bangkok in Thailand, and that is where our adventure began. We got picked up by we arranged to pick up with the STA travel company, so we didn't have to think about how we were getting to our hotel. We were just being taken straight there. And the traffic in Bangkok that morning was so awful after such a long flight, but we finally got to the hostel where we met our group, because we had booked to go on the Indochina Discovery Tour with STA, and so we literally got straight into it. We went on a dinner that night and off we went. The next morning we took off straight to Cambodia. We went on, I think it was a 10-hour bus journey all the way to Cambodia. So our first stop off in Cambodia was Siem Reap. I think that's how you say it, right? If I keep looking down, it's because I've been looking at my maps, because I managed to star everything on my maps so I can remember where we all went. And we actually spent 6 days in Cambodia. It was a very quick trip there. It was not long. We managed to get a lot done. Like, we went and saw the famous Angkor Wat temple, and we went to what's it called, let me find it, Koh Rong, the island, and we went to Phnom Penh. And after 6 days there, we left very quickly to Vietnam, and we drove all the way there, and it took a very long time, but we were in Ho Chi Minh City for the Chinese New Year, or the Lunar New Year, and it was absolutely amazing, and it was so good. And we actually spent 14 days in Vietnam, or was it 13? No, 13 days. Because luckily for us UK citizens, we don't actually need a visa if we're travelling in Vietnam for under 14 days, so that was really lucky for us that we were only there for 13. I can actually do a whole separate video on visas if you want, but that, I feel like that is just a whole different conversation in itself, so we'll leave that for another time. But then we went straight travelling from the south to the north. I feel like I could do a whole video on Vietnam because it was such an incredible country. And then when we got to Hanoi, we actually flew from there, and we flew straight into Laos, where we spent 6 more days travelling there, and it was such a beautiful country. And then we finally left and made it back into Thailand 30 days later. So we spent 30 days travelling around Southeast Asia, and it was absolutely phenomenal. And we had 31 more days in Thailand. So we actually travelled back to Bangkok on the overnight train, and then we went back up to Chiang Mai on the overnight train, because we were spending a week with volunteering with the elephant, and it was an absolutely incredible experience, and I'm so glad we did it. And then we travelled back down to Bangkok, because we were actually starting our second tour of our trip, and we were doing an island hopper trip. So we started in Bangkok and we met another group. This was a completely separate group, and we then travelled down to all the islands. So let me check which ones we went to. So we went to Koh Tao, Koh Phangan, and then to the Phi Phi Islands, and we finished off in Phuket. And from Phuket, me and my friend Hayley flew to Australia. Now, I was only meant to be staying for 6 days in Australia, and then I was flying to New Zealand. But because of the outbreak of the virus, I actually had to leave early from Australia and fly back home to the UK. So I never actually made it to New Zealand, which I was so heartbroken about, because it's been a country that I've been wanting to travel to for such a long time. But I didn't make it. But hopefully, maybe one day in the future, I will make it. If the camera angle has changed a bit, my battery died, of course, that would just happen to me, wouldn't it? So I apologise for that. But what I was going to start talking about is kind of like the pros and cons of travelling in an organised group, in an organised tour, and my thoughts and feelings on it. So, my first thought of it all is that you don't have to think about where you're going or what you're doing. You can literally get up, pack your stuff, get on the bus, and then your tour guide is taking you to it, you know. You literally don't have to plan anything. It's very carefree, like, it's very relaxed. You don't have to stress about, like, sort of booking your next hostel or hotel. It's very, very chill because it's already planned for you. So that is probably my top pro. Very, very good. Secondly, you're with a group of people straight away. I'm gonna sneeze, I'm so snory. Snory? 3 in a row, wow. We're winning today. So, where was I? So you're with a group of people straight away, like you meet friends straight away, which is great if you're solo travelling because then you're thrown into a group and you don't have to worry about meeting friends or who you might travel with after the trip, and it's really rude. God, we are just getting it today. You know, and you don't have to think about who you want to travel with after your group. It's great for solo. If you're a solo traveller and it's your first time travelling, I would highly recommend it for that reason. Your tour guide, because you have someone with you 24/7, can tell you all the information about the country or the place that you're at. They're very, very informative. They answer every single question you could ever need. And they're very good if you're sick or you need to go and see a doctor, like I did in Vietnam, where I had to go to hospital, which I can make a whole separate video about if you're interested, but yeah, that wasn't amusing. But my tour guide was absolutely amazing and he was so helpful when it came to that situation. So that is definitely the pros, in my opinion, of travelling in a gosh, I'm doing a lot of hand things today, aren't I? But yeah, in an organised group. However, there are some cons. For me, you are stuck with the same group of people for 30 days or however long your tour lasts for, which is great because we had the most amazing, incredible group ever. However, if you don't particularly get along with those people, then I can imagine it can be quite difficult, and that is something to bear in mind. Secondly, you can't do what you want to do because everything is planned. So it's really hard. You do get some free time, but it is hard to try and talk to the tour guide and tell them that you want to do something, and they'll be like, well, we've already got this plan, so you can't go and do that. So that is quite hard as well. You're not long in each place. Like, we went to Hoi An in Vietnam, which was absolutely beautiful, and we were only there for 2 nights and not even 3 days. So if I wasn't in a tour group, I would have stayed there for so much longer. So that is definitely a con. You are not in each country for very long, but however, on the flip side of that, you get to see loads of countries in a really short amount of time. So there's pros and cons to each side of that argument. Highlights. So I could only think of, like, I mean, I could say that the whole trip was a highlight for me, to be honest, but one of them being is friends. We met so many people from so many different countries. Now we know people from Iceland, New Zealand, America, Canada, Amsterdam, you know, just everywhere, and it is amazing to have such a wide community of friends all over the world. So that is a great pro. Also, exploring the places that we did, the amount of stuff that we did in such a short amount of time. So if you are a person who doesn't really want to quit their job but wants to go on a travelling trip, I think that this is a great thing to do, because we did 4 countries in 30 days, which I think is phenomenal. Moving on to things that I wish I did differently. The first one being is not book as many tours. We actually booked 2 tours and 1 volunteering experience. So it's really difficult when you're a first time traveller like me and my friend were. We were really nervous about kind of what we were going to do next, and we just always wanted the plan, we wanted a schedule. But actually when you're travelling, we wish that we were a bit more laid back with it all, and we both agreed that we wouldn't have booked as many things as we did, because obviously with me in New Zealand, I could not go to New Zealand, and I didn't actually end up getting any of my money back from that trip, so I lost out on a lot of money. But if I hadn't booked that, I would have saved all that money, so it's super frustrating for me. So that is one thing that I'm definitely going to be doing differently next time. Again, it's kind of the same thing, but not book things in advance because of the same reason about the fact that I couldn't get my money back. So that's something to also think about if you're planning on going on a long-term backpacking trip. And as well, kind of the same thing, but I wish I didn't plan as much. I wish I kind of just went go with the flow. Things I'll do differently in the future, or things I will do in the future when I go on my next trip, which I don't know when that's going to be, but I'll probably end up booking a flight to the destination and then book everything else on the go. I want to try and stay in one country, because even though it was great travelling to all these different countries, it was very stressful with the visa situation for me. Visas I found really stressful, and I hated crossing borders, and it was the worst horrible experience. So I really want to just try and stay in one country next time, and not take as much stuff. I took way too much stuff, and I think I really want to go kind of minimalist on my next travelling trip. So that is pretty much it. I just wanted to do a short and sweet video of what I got up to on my travelling trips. I mean, there is tons of stories that I could tell you guys that I think would be really good in maybe a separate video. I would love to tell you about the time when I did have to go to the hospital in Vietnam, or maybe some of the dramas that happened when we were away. But yeah, there are tons of things that I could tell you guys. Also, I could probably give out some visa information. I know it's kind of tricky with the visas, because I was constantly googling about visas before we left, and I could never find kind of a solid answer. But in reality, they do change all the time. The visa rules in these Southeast Asian countries change all the time, so it can be really confusing. But I could make a video on what my experience was at the time of travelling, if that is something that you would be interested in. But thank you for tuning in today. I hope it could put a smile on your face with all the dark energy that is going on at the moment in the world, but we're all trying to stay positive and keep a smile on my face. So if you enjoyed watching, don't forget to like, subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video.